So I have a little bit of experience with visual novels. I talked about one on the last video with Dead of the Brain. Visual novels are a historically, well, very often they're perceived. The historical perception of visual novels is that they are an intimidating genre to get into. And that is kind of true. Mainly because all of the best, most highly lauded games, if you can call them that, in the genre are really fucking long. Fate is really fucking long. Umineko is really fucking long. And they are wordy and not for everyone. Visual novel authors are infamously flowery and wordy in their prose. And sometimes, to be honest, I think that when a lot of people open up their laptop or turn on their computer, they don't exactly want to read a book on it. They like audio. There's gotta be, okay. There's gotta be audio, like audiobook / audio drama versions of visual novels. I feel like those could really take off. Which, granted, would just be, a lot of them have voice acting, but like a full, let's say an English voice acted version with like sound effects and stuff so that you kind of know what's going on. That could be good. Like music, that could be cool. Anyway, notoriously kind of intimidating thing to get into because of just the sheer time investment that is asked of you, and the fact that I think a lot of people just don't want to read a book on their computer. And for these reasons, Song of Saya is often recommended as kind of a starter VN because it's very short. I played the whole thing in about 4-ish hours, and I got every ending. It's got 3 endings, I believe. I got all of them in less than 4 hours. This is also kind of a funny situation because Song of Saya is also horrifically weird and off-putting and intentionally very disturbing and shocking and wants to gross you out constantly. Even the premise is disgusting. I will get into it. So Song of Saya, I think one of its best aspects is honestly its premise. It is a very fascinating idea for at least a hook. It's very intriguing mystery. Basically, the main character is this guy named Fuminori, I think. He's Fuminori Sakasaki. He has a very long name. All of his friends have 1-syllable names. They're like Yo and Ko and Koji. No, it's like Yo and Umi and Koji. But he's Fuminori Sakasaki. Anyway, he is in a horrible car accident that kills both of his parents instantly. He's like college-aged. He's in college. His parents both die. He, in order to save his life, the hospital has to perform an experimental brain surgery on him. And when he wakes up from his coma, the entire world is made of gore. The entire world. The floor, the bed, the blanket, the people, everything is made of meat. Viscera, muscle, intestines, veins, fucking weird pipes, you know, sacks of pus and gross shit. Just gore. The whole world is made of gore. Every person looks like the Arby's meat mountain. They are just big, fleshy blobs with maybe an eyeball sticking out. They speak in these horribly distorted voices. And as you learn, it's not just a visual thing. All of his senses are affected by this sensory disorder. It smells. It smells bad. everything feels wet and slimy and soft. Food tastes disgusting. It is just this horrific condition. Except for one person. There is absolutely one person in this world who seems to be unaffected by his condition. A little girl named Saya, who comes to live with him because she was the daughter of the surgeon who performed the operation on him. And this guy has gone missing. His name is Ogai, I think, or Ogay. Oh, okay. And so Fuminori wants to find out about this guy. Saya obviously wants to find her dad. Thus, the plot. So I'll be spoiling the game because fucking whatever. I would recommend it. I think that it's pretty good. I think it's a little overhyped. I can't believe this is the podcast where I say Ice Age is a little underrated and Song of Saya is a little overrated. I'm a true centrist. So, Song of Saya is written by Gen Urabuchi, who's probably best known for the Madoka Magica series. And he is kind of known for being like twisted and disturbing and stuff. And that is both some of the strongest points and some of the weakest points of the story, in my opinion. Now, when I call it overrated, I mean it in a couple ways. So, first of all, I think that the disgusting factor of the game just didn't work on me as much. I was able to like, I'm gonna be so tough now. I'm gonna be so cool. This is such a cool guy. In the middle of playing this, I got up because I was really hungry and I made a ham sandwich and I sat down and ate it while I was playing the game. And I was not deterred. And I lose my appetite. Honestly, I can lose my appetite in a second if I see the wrong thing. And the gore in this game and the meat thing did not bother me really in the slightest. I mean, there's a couple of visuals that are like, but the fact that it's, I don't know, it's very vague. I think that's what it does. That's the reason it doesn't affect me very much. The art is always like, yeah, everything's made of meat, but it's never anything very specific. Like, there's a shot, I think, in Phenomena where someone gets stabbed in, like, they get this open chest wound, and they get stabbed in their still beating heart. And that was more distressing to me. That was grosser to me than anything that happened in Song of Saya. For the most part, it was just like the 2D visuals did not. They kind of helped to obscure the fact that they made it feel a little as real because it was like a drawing / I think some of them are CG as well. It's not terribly convincing or lifelike, and aesthetically, I have this thing, like, I kind of developed this coping mechanism when I was in high school, and sometimes you're in biology and you just gotta see some gross shit about the human body. And I was like, it's just meat. It's just meat. It's fine. Like, it has to be a little more particular or a little more specific and pointed to really make me uncomfortable. But when you just show me like slabs of fucking, looks like liverwurst, like, I don't know, man. It's just meat. Yeah, the idea. So here's the thing: the idea. What really got me, the visuals, didn't really get me, but I got uncomfortable from the descriptions of his other senses. Like, for instance, the first scene of the game is Fuminori sitting in his cafeteria with his friends, who he perceives as all being giant meat monsters, and he kind of like he fucking hates being around them. He's basically on a downward spiral of sanity because of this condition. And he gets up because he's got to go to a doctor's appointment, and he just kind of wants to get out of the situation and not look at them anymore. And one of his friends gets up because, he's been acting really weird recently, and his friend Koji says something to him. And from Fuminori's perspective, it's like some fucking like disgusting pus squirts out of this monster and almost hits his face, and he holds his hand up and he's like to shield his face from getting this gross fluid on him. And like, oh, that's gross. The points where he describes like the smell of something or the sensation of his bed, like they just lie in this fucking meat bed. Like, oh, that kind of got under my skin a little bit. And then, well, interestingly, you then see this exact same scene from the perspective of his friends where everything is normal. And from their perspective, he's just acting super weird. Like, Koji gets up to say something to him, and Fuminori just like, ugh! He just throws his hands up, and it's like, dude, are you okay? That stuff was interesting. And the difference in the way that both people perceive the world is a thing that recurs over the story, and it's where some of the most intrigue really arises. So first of all, yeah, like the gross stuff really did not have much of an effect on me. The second thing is, I just don't think it's like that deep. It's a pretty good psychological horror, but I think a lot of people treat something being a psychological horror as meaning that it's particularly deep or has something to say, which it doesn't. It just means that you like wrote a story about someone going crazy. You obviously can say quite a bit with a psychological horror, but you can say a lot with a slasher movie. The particular subgenre or the style of horror really has no bearing on how deep the story is. And there's tons of stupid psychological horrors. One of my favorite movies is Wicked World. Them movies, I don't even know what to fucking call that. Maybe that's a bad example. That's also kind of a slasher movie. Barry J. Gillis was trying to say something about society, goddammit. I'm sick of this wicked world. Anyway, Song of Saya is not terribly deep, and I think that the way that people talk about it kind of blows it up to a little more than it really is, and makes the psychology seem a little deeper than it really is. If you watch a really good psychological thriller or read one, Song of Saya is pretty good, in that it's engrossing and I get what's going on, and it resonates, at least emotionally. Basically, Fuminori's arc is basically becoming a crazy, misanthropic killer guy who hates humanity. There's I think the best scene in the game is pretty early on when their friend, I think her name is Umi, she goes back to Fuminori's house to confront him because he was kind of an asshole, and she's going to give him a piece of her mind. So she goes to his house. He happens to be out, but Saya is home. And this whole time leading up to this, you've only ever known Saya as like a little girl in his horrible meat hellscape world. And there's an amazing scene, a genuinely great scene of Umi going into his house and being like, why is there all this fucking slime on the floor? And you're like, oh, no way. And you could maybe like, I was taking bets, I was curious about what Saya's actual deal was, but as soon as you start really finding out, it's like, oh shit, okay. And there's a really good horror sequence where she's exploring the house and she flicks on the lights in the living room, and Fuminori has so to him, he's had to paint the walls of his house in colors that kind of look greenish to him because it makes it easier for him to like desensitize himself to the gore. But when she sees it, it's just a mess of literally like completely schizophrenic colors. Like madness. It is literally distressing for her to look at this room. And then guess what? Something drops on her. A big fucking blob monster. That's right, Saya's a big meat monster. And that's fun. That was a really fun scene and a fun reveal. And like the general arc is that Fuminori kind of realizes that Saya eats people, and he's like, well, all right, this is our life now, because he's just going crazy, man. He's going crazy from his condition, and he becomes more and more of a psychopathic serial killer over the course of the story, and he doesn't have a problem doing whatever he wants and killing his friends and stuff like that, because he's dark and twisted. He has this evil, fucked up version of the hamburger helper, just a peek into his twisted psyche. And it's not a terrible character arc. I get it. But where it does lose me a little bit is in, I would say, the gratuity. Now, I want to be very clear, because some people hear me criticize certain elements and they think that I'm pro-censorship because they're stupid and they don't know how to listen to the words that I'm saying. I have no problem with you depicting whatever the fuck you want in your fictional world with fictional characters. I guess it changes a little bit if you're using like real child actors or something like that. But that doesn't happen too often. For the most part, I have no problem if you want to write a visual novel that gets freaky and fucked up and weird. I will accept it for like, it's a thing. I don't have to like it. I don't have to like it or approve of it personally. But I do not have any opposition inherently to doing whatever the hell you want. I mentioned Harvester early. No, I didn't. I mentioned Harvester in the commentary track for the last video I recorded today. I'm getting my wires crossed. I love Harvester as a game. Really cool game. Tons of fucked up shit in it. Disturbing imagery. Some of it, actually a lot of it involving kids. Which will be very relevant in a moment. Love that game. Love that game. It's all about execution. And I think that I judge that stuff pretty fairly. Like, I don't go in wanting to dislike something. I'm not some like Twitter pearl clutcher or something like that. I hate saying Twitter pearl clutcher. It makes me sound like a fucking like a right winger. But yeah, that kind of thing. So I want everyone to know, let's all be adults about this, and that I am criticizing the specific way that subject matter is handled in Song of Saya, and not its right to exist. Like, you, I guess, have the right to exist, but I might not like you. I don't want you to die. Okay, so what do I actually want to say? Okay. The game sometimes gets too edgy for its own good. There is a very clear, it's like, okay, there's a strong lolicon angle to Song of Saya that is there for the whole game, and it's pretty upfront about it. Saya is a little girl. She is meant to be a little girl. She's not just like a petite adult woman. She is meant to look like a little girl. There are thematic reasons for that. And at the same time, Fuminori is like, fuck it. I'll fuck that. There is literally like one of the when you get the scene of his first day, he comes home and has sex with Saya. And it's like, he's fucking the meat monster. But here's the catch. He thinks it's a little girl. Just parlay. I like don't inherently have a problem with the character being a pedophile, because it is meant to represent basically the defilement of good in his world. Everything is fucked up. And Saya is basically the only good, pure, innocent thing in his eyes. She is the only she is literally like this picture of innocence. She's like a child, literally. And when they have as their sexual relationship progresses, it's like he is not only living in a corrupted world of the Arby's meat locker, but also the one pure thing in his world he is corrupting by dicking it down. So, okay, fine. I get it. I'm not opposed to it. Also, she's not even a real little girl. She's a fucking weird blob monster. And he's kind of aware of this by the end, and he still gets down with it. He might like it more. Where the game loses me is in these moments where it really pushes it. There is this moment. Okay. There's a moment in the game where it starts layering on so many disturbing things that it kind of just feels like an Aristocrats joke. If you don't know, an Aristocrats joke is this kind of classic joke structure. It's a bit of an in-joke among blue comedians, shocking, vulgar comedians. The setup, it's always the same setup, and then you kind of get to go wherever you want with it. The setup is that there's a performing arts, there's a performing family that is auditioning for an agent, and the agent is like, well, show me what you got. What's your act about? And then, basically you detail the act, and it's up to whoever's telling the joke, but it's generally the most disgusting, depraved, vulgar, shocking, offensive things you can imagine. There's incest, murder, rape, bestiality, bodily functions of all sorts, just gross, nasty, icky shit. And it just builds and builds and builds and builds until the very end, when they're done, and the agent asks, well, I've never seen anything quite like it. What do you call yourselves? And the remaining, the surviving members of the family, because, like half of them, they're all like covered in shit and blood, and they've lost like limbs or eyeballs, and half of them are dead from anal rape. And they turn around and they go, we're the aristocrats. And that's the joke. That's the punchline. It's kind of like an anti-punchline. It builds and builds and builds, and then it has like a stupid ending. And that's the the point is just how absolutely creative can you get in pushing the boundaries of all good sense, of all good taste. It is an exercise in bad taste. That's the whole point. And it's not meant to be taken seriously. It's an Aristocrats joke. You can look up like a fucking 10-minute video of Bob Saget telling one and he's a very vulgar comedian. And like at multiple points, he just like cracks and he's like, what the fuck am I saying? Like, what am I talking about? And there's like a scene from Song of Saya where she basically, she figures out that she can give the meat world condition to other people as well. And so she sneaks into the neighbor's home, he's like this middle-aged painter. He works from home. His wife goes out to work. He has like a young daughter. And while he's home alone, Saya basically pounces on him, puts him into meat vision world, and he just instantly loses his whole goddamn mind. He's just instantly insane from it, driven completely mad. His wife and child come home, and he breaks, he grabs like a shard of wood, like from one of his easels. It like broke off. He grabs like a stake, and he fucking stabs his wife to death. And she's like, honey, no. And he's like, fucking die. And then his daughter's like, Daddy, what are you doing? And then he's like, and then he stabs his daughter to death. It's like that scene from fucking Spike Lee Old Boy where the guy's like, Daddy, bang. He just fucking stabbed his daughter to death. And then he runs outside and he's like, I'm so fucking crazy. And then Saya's there, and she also looks like a little girl to him. And he's like, he turns into like anime rapist. And he's like, little girl, and it's like the voice acting just super over the top and ridiculous. And he like rips her dress open, and he like chases her into her house. And then he starts raping the little girl. And then Fuminori comes in, and he sees it, and he grabs a meat cleaver, and he starts fucking hacking the guy to death, and he kills him, and he chops his head off. And then they turn around and they're like, we're the aristocrats. And it's like, it's so ridiculous. Urabuchi is trying so hard to disturb me that it just completely collapses. It just ceases to have any impact whatsoever. It's just like, I'm just like, what's going to happen next? Like, I can't take any of it seriously at all, because all I can think of is the author being like, oh boy, I hope this next part is really twisted. I hope it really gets them. And I'm totally taken out of the story. It just doesn't work on me. It's probably, and like when the game really leans into that stuff, I think it's kind of lame, and it loses a lot of power in some of the creepier segments, because there's quite a bit of creepy writing in this, and good suspense. I like the concept. And you know what? This is a game with a crazy premise where the explanation actually does not deflate the intrigue. The more that I learned about what was really going on and the secrets of what Saya actually is and what this condition is, I actually got more invested in it. It also helps that as Fuminori spirals into madness, the game basically shifts into a second main character perspective, like halfway through, to his friend Koji. And Koji, just being a relatively normal person, allows you to still kind of like invest yourself into the conflict. If it was, and I think that's one of the game's saving graces, if it was just Fuminori being a fucking crazy pedophile murderer, I think it would get pretty old. But having someone to oppose him and actually getting to spend a lot of time with that character strengthens the plot a lot. To be honest, it really becomes it feels like Koji's story by the end of it, at least of like the final two routes. There are a lot of like really good moments where you have no idea what's going to happen. There's a genuinely high level of tension. Those are the best points. Those are the best points of the game. I think that it's got a cool Lovecraftian angle to it. It is genuinely Lovecraft. A lot of times people say it's Lovecraftian, and really it's just like there's tentacles. But Song of Saya has a genuine Lovecraftian angle. There is an aspect here where even when you get an understanding, like when you get an explanation for what's going on, there is so much that is left unexplained. And there is clearly, you are basically, the world is a lot bigger than you knew. There is things that no human alive truly understands, and you can't understand really why this is happening. You can make a theory, but you can't know. And even trying to know is a recipe for your own doom. You'll go insane, you'll die. And I like that the whole truth, the scope was never pulled back. Like, the true scope of what's happening here is beyond anything. It's beyond human comprehension. You learn enough to know that. But what we see is a relatively small story of about 6 people interacting with something that they could never possibly understand. They couldn't grasp it. And that's fairly compelling. Now, I will say that if you played the game on Steam, like I did, it is technically censored from the original release. Basically, they took out, from what I understand, the bulk of the sex scenes. It appears that most of the sex scenes are just moaning noises. But several people who love this game swear by the fact that it is integral to the plot that you watch these sex scenes as well. There is a patch that you can download. You can actually get it from the JAST official site. Or is it JAST? I've never known. You can get it from their site by paying for it. It's like $5. You can also probably find it for free somewhere. And I guess, I don't know. I didn't see it. I think I understand the gist of the story without having seen the full sex scenes. I saw someone fiercely defending their inclusion in the game. Someone was like slightly like, I don't like that there's sex scenes with a little girl, fucking crazy take. And there's someone arguing against them, just writing paragraphs. This is on Reddit. I was trying to find discussion on this game, and this guy is just writing paragraphs about how important the lolicon aspect is to it, and how you got fucking filtered, and it's good that people like you aren't playing this game. And his username is I love lolies, and his account is banned. His account has been suspended on Reddit, which is one of the best punchlines that I couldn't have written it better myself. So if you want to see that part and you're interested in the game, yeah, you can find it. Yep. But I think that generally the release is fine. Most of the gore, as I understand it, all the gore was basically included. There is one moment that I don't know if it was censored. There is a character, it's like a dream sequence, where a character's face has been like split in half. And in their portrait, it's like blacked out, JoJo style. I don't know if that was from the original or added in this. I'm okay with not seeing that myself. Yeah. Song of Saya is good. I think people talk it up a little more. I think it has the kind of the anime blinders effect going on, which I think is appropriate, because it is very, what I call it, anime edgy, which is where the author just never knows when to stop piling on bullshit to how edgy and dark and like twisted. No, you don't get it, man. Fuminori, he's like, he doesn't even think people are people. He doesn't even respect human life. You don't even understand. He's so twisted. Which I think was actually kind of an interesting angle that I think could have been explored a little more. I was very interested in the idea of the sensory thing being a metaphor for how he sees other people and the world around him. And then it goes into a direction where it's much more literal. And I don't know, it kind of loses that thread by the end. I thought that was an interesting idea about like how he perceives other people, but not to be, I guess. but he's so dark and messed up. Like you don't even know how messed up. Like he kills people, man. Like he fucks his little girl slime monster, man. you don't even that's what I call anime edgy. They just never know when to stop shoveling shit on. Ever seen Magical Girl Sight? That's a fucking hilarious show. That show is funny as hell. Like, just watch the first episode of Magical Girl Sight, and I think you'll know what I mean. Maybe the first 2 or 3, I don't remember. Just unending misery that is just, it's ridiculous. It's like fucking Precious. Precious is anime edgy. We're getting a lot of great metaphors here. Ice Age is the American Tokyo Godfathers. Precious is anime edgy. Yeah. Someone edit Precious from the movie Precious, but with like the Sharingan. Yeah, but I guess I would recommend Song of Saya. It is quite short. It is pretty good. I know I spent a long time dogging on it, but these aren't necessarily problems that plague most of the game. The writing is a little bit overly flowery. Like whoever translated it loves using those big vocab words in a way that slightly bogs down the prose a bit. But it's mostly good. Yeah, pretty intriguing plot. Interesting twists and reveals. Very short, like I said. The game has only 3 routes, and that's really between, like, 2 choices? There's, like, 2 different choice points in the game. One of them leads to, like, an early ending. The other one leads to... It'll be, like, the first choice leads to... One of them is to an early ending. The other choice goes to, like, the rest of the game. And then down that path, there's 2 endings for 2 choices. So that's, yeah, Song of Saya. Song of Saya.